Yeah, you must be wondering why am I sitting down like all of you here. But I'm not here to share a billion-dollar idea with you or tell you how the world is going to look like in 100 years from now. But I'm here to talk to you as a friend and as a fellow human being. But first, I would like all of you to think deeply, what are you thankful for in your life? What is that you're grateful for every day? Please share whatever that is with the person next to you. I think I feel the energy already. It's brightening up the room. It's great. So now that you feel what can gratitude do to you, I would like to tell you a story. Let's go back in time, 14th of August, 1947. I think none of us was born at that time. No, I'm sure none of us was born at that time. That day was a turning point in the history of the Indian subcontinent. After 200 years of invasion and rule, the British retreated and they left India. But one thing that happened on that day is the country was divided into two parts, Pakistan and India. On that day, millions of people were rendered homeless. Thousands of human beings died. And there were a lot of people who became refugees that day. Amongst those millions of people, there was one young guy, a 24-year-old youth, an excellent student, got his education from the best college in India at that time. But he was told one day before that he has to leave the country. Without any material possessions, no books, not even a single penny, he had to leave and start a new life. He only had three things. It was the fire in his belly, the sparkle in his eyes, and the iron will, which got him to take refuge in New Delhi, in a camp with three of his siblings and his parents. From then on, of course, it was not easy for him. But he kept going forward, moving ahead, taking help from fellow strangers, from friends, from other human beings. He became a successful entrepreneur himself. He was a pioneer in the pharmaceutical industry of India and lost everything twice. But the interesting thing about this man was he was extremely happy throughout this journey. Even when he went away from this world, he had a smile on his face, a joy, a sense of fulfillment that you cannot explain. And the reason was because he had made peace with death very early on in his young days. So that was the time, and he ended his journey and he left. He had a big family, many kids, many grandkids, and one of his grandkids decided to live in Belgium. That was me. I was not forced away to leave my country like he was, but I had the luxury to choose where I could start a new life. And I was living in Brussels. After a business school education and dreams of becoming an investment banker, I was living in Brussels and having a great time in my life. When one day, my manager called me. This is not 1947 anymore. This is now. This is present. So my manager calls me and says, Archish, don't come to work today. And this is so strange. I mean, I've called in sick many times and I said, I cannot come today, but your manager calling you and saying, do not come to work today? That doesn't happen, does it? So when I got this call, I could sense the urgency in his voice. I could sense the fear he had. And it became clear what happened in the next 30 seconds. My phone was ringing nonstop. I had calls from my friends, from my family, and the BBC News app on my iPhone, it gave a notification, Brussels under attack. That was the day that the Brussels airport was bombed, 2 kilometers from my house. I could hear the helicopters hovering over the city. There were people running around. It was like being in a war zone. I was so scared. I was so fearful. I thought I would die any moment. So what does a young 24-year-old boy do when he faces fear and he thinks he's going to die? I call my mother. And when I called her, she knew what I was going through. And I said that I want to come home now. I do not want to stay in this country anymore. What do I have to do here? My home is back there where you are. We had a long argument, truly. And now when I look back, I think she's a very wise mother. She gave me an advice which stuck to me, and I think about it every day of my life. She said, stay there, fight your fear, because if you run now, you will run for the rest of your life. And she reminded me of the struggles that my grandfather went through. In front of that, I did not even have a glimpse of what he must have felt. I was far away from these events. So like a good son, I decided to stay back in Belgium. But I couldn't be a bystander anymore and look at the things that were happening. So what do I do then? I decided to organize a TEDx event like this one in the same area where the attacks had happened. Because I feel this platform gives inspiration and courage to so many people. And many, many citizens of that country, of Belgium, were feeling hopeless and disturbed as I was. So I got on the journey with 4 of my friends to organize this event. It was an unbelievable journey, truly. I met such inspiring people on the road, heard some unbelievable stories. And while I was doing this, while I was organizing the event, there's a guy I met. His name is Ali. Ali grew up in Afghanistan, in Kabul, with his big family. Very intelligent guy. He got a degree in electrical engineering back in the Kabul University. But the last 50 years in Afghanistan has been a bloody war. There's not hundreds or thousands, but millions of people who have been affected, and thousands die every single year. And he was not one of those person who is going to just be there thinking, okay, tomorrow my life might be over. He had something special in him. He had the drive, the ambition to do something. So he decided to leave the country. And he undertook a voyage to Europe, not knowing where he would end up, without any penny, without any possessions. He had 3 things: the fire in his belly, the sparkle in his eyes, and the iron will. And he came to Belgium in 80 days. He traveled through mountains, through sea. He walked for miles and miles. He survived on dry fruits and cashew nuts every day for 80 days. And there was one time he was about to reach Greece, and he was on a boat. The boat could accommodate 25 people, usually, but it had 85 because the smugglers wanted to make a lot of money that day. So they were all on the boat, and he had a 2-year-old kid sitting on his lap, and his mother beside him. As they were about to reach Greece, there was a big storm, and the captain said, probably none of you could make it because they had 25 life jackets at all. And he told them to prepare to die. At that time, Ali closed his eyes and he thought deeply. It's okay if I die today. It's perfectly fine. I've seen life. But what has this kid of 2 years old done to die like this? And while his eyes was closed, he told this to me. When he opened it, they were all safely in Greece. This is no magic or mysticism. It's just life. These things happen. So Ali is now in France, and he's studying electrical engineering. He's fluent in French. He's a very dear friend of mine. And when you meet him, you realize that life is not about the materialism and wealth and objects. If you look at him, he smiles like he has everything in this world, but in fact, he has nothing at all. If the worth of a human being would be measured in terms of warmth and happiness and kindness, he would be the king of this world, I assure you. Meeting him reminded me of my grandfather a lot, and we talk about this often over tea. So telling you these few stories that I have heard and experienced myself very closely in my life, I want to point your focus and attention to a very important subject, which is gratitude. In this century, in this world, we have everything. We live in a safe place, but we still forget to be grateful for the things that we have, and we always think about the things that we don't. So I hope you can all be thankful about something after you leave today. It's good to have gratitude. It makes you happy. But do take action. When you leave this auditorium today, maybe call your mother and tell her how thankful you are for everything she's done for you. And that, for me, will be the greatest victory today. Thank you so much.